Welcome in the Tuesday edition of Corbet's Corner here. As Monday, we were basically out all day trying to get our furnace fixed. We're up and running. Heater, yes. So we are back and better than ever here on a Tuesday. Let's talk NFL. Chiefs get it done last night, but the team doesn't scare you at all. Giants were to play last night, 10.5, take it to the bank, a 3-point win for the Chiefs. Offense did not look good against a poor Giants team. Bills and Rams, they're at the top. That hasn't changed. Packers, look what the Rams just did, right? They just got Von Miller, right? As they continue to go all in. Stafford, now Von Miller paired up with Aaron Donald. No quarterback wants to see that. In the regular season, any season, postseason, nobody wants to see that. I'm sorry. That's crazy. So Bills and Rams are obviously at the top, two menacing defenses. Packers, Bucks, Cardinals round out the top five. Packers, traditional great Aaron Rodgers game, right? All odds stacked against him. He comes in and wins against the only remaining unbeaten team. Cardinals are still a dynamic team, right? Bucks, they take a tough loss. Saints, that happens every year, right? Division rival in the Metrodome or Mercedes-Benz Superdome, right? Saints were to play there. You just throw that out. The Bucks are obviously a contender in that top five. Titans are there. They're close. Derrick Henry, that's a huge blow. We'll see how that can really affect this team. We'll get a real good look. Sunday Night Football this week, Titans, Rams. We also get Packers, Chiefs. That's going to be a great game. The Chiefs are always exciting just to see what happens, even if they are 4-4. Now the Broncos are apparently tanking. The Raiders, who really knows what's going there. The Chargers are still probably a year away. I mean, the Chiefs are still in it. They're probably going to have a tougher road through the playoffs, but they still have Mahomes. They still have offensive weapons. They have a terrible defense, but the talent's going to eventually get them there, I think, in that division that looked like, oh, my God, the Chiefs. Now, all of a sudden, the Raiders and Broncos don't look so hot anymore, especially the Broncos, even though they did just get a win against the football team, which has been terrible. Derrick Henry mentioned potentially out for the year. He still leads the league in rushing by 350 yards. So it might be he's still going to lead the league in rushing probably after this week, maybe even two. It might take 2 weeks for someone to eclipse that for Derrick Henry. So a tough blow for a lot of people's fantasy teams and especially, obviously, the Tennessee Titans. I'm making my pick here. Matt Stafford will be your NFL MVP. Here you go. Stafford, I thought he'd be the front runner right now. In my personal opinion, I'm seeing Vegas odds right now. He's third behind Tom Brady and Josh Allen, tied with Kyler Murray. He's ahead of Rodgers. Rodgers hasn't really been putting up numbers in terms of passing yards this year. But I'm taking Matt Stafford plus 500 for MVP and for passing yards. This is a guy that threw for 5,000 with the Detroit Lions. He's well on pace there. He's second in the NFL right now behind Tom Brady. He's about 180 yards behind him. And those are the top two right now. So I agree. Brady's probably up there, but they just lost, right? Stafford's beaten Brady head to head. I think they're going to have the better record, which would help, not unlike what happened with the Rodgers and the Packers last year. Stafford's currently, as I said, 180 yards behind Brady, but I think he can beat him. 9.1 yards per attempt, best in the NFL. He might have one of the most underrated weapons, right? You got Woods, Kupp. They're trading away Deshaun Jackson. They didn't really need him. Henderson Jr. This team is dynamic. Stafford just needed to change of scenery, and I think he's going to bring home some hardware for it. Second in touchdowns to Brady. Brady's 25-5, TDs to interceptions, and Stafford's 22-4. Stafford, better quarterback rating and passer rating than Brady. So that's where I give the edge, and I think trajectory-wise, I mean, the weapons for both sides getting better. The yards per attempt, completion percentage, better for Stafford. I think he can overtake Brady. Stafford, my pick for MVP right now. You can get him at plus 500. Looks like nobody's going after Deshaun Watson after all here at the trade deadline. Good. Okay, so I guess he's just going to sit out the rest of the season. Hopefully the legal process will take its course and we'll kind of get a better idea if this alleged behavior is more than just alleged. Classic Atlanta Falcons loss. I mean, I can't win them. Boston College, terrible. Losing to Syracuse. Falcons lose to Carolina. Just classic. as their favorites at home. Tough story for Calvin Ridley. I mean, I don't know what to. I'm all for people dealing with their anxiety. It's one of the toughest things you can ever go through. But this is a team sport, and now all of a sudden you just lost a huge member of your team. Matt Ryan's. All you have is Kyle Pitts now. Here's how you beat the Falcons. You put two guys on Pitts, and then you're throwing to Russell Gage and Olamide Zaccheaus. This is really disappointing. I hope for the well-being of Calvin Ridley. Didn't want to, I mean, he was basically saying, hey, it's personal. I don't want to talk about it. That's fine. Hope he's doing all right, but really hurting the Falcons with his departure. So they lose to Carolina. Now, what's happening here? We're going to the Saints. This is a classic bounce back Falcons win. +6 with the Trevor Siemian New Orleans Saints in the Superdome. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. These are smart people employed to be in charge of this football team. You would think they'd be able to game plan. Okay, we know Ridley's going to be gone, right? Now let's game plan for life without him and see if, we can steal one against Trevor Siemian and the Saints. Because Jameis Winston, RIP the MVP campaign. He tears his ACL, but he's still dancing on his leg with the crutches in hand in the postgame locker room celebrating the win. Just classic Jameis. What do you think of the Saints now? What are the, Taysom Hill, I believe, is still out. So Simeon's getting the go against the Falcons. Should probably still win that against the Falcons, but we'll see if Atlanta can make some noise. Who knows? Oh my God, Vikings fans. Classic. Mike Zimmer lets Cooper Rush do that to him and the Cowboys on Sunday night, Halloween. 325 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins back down to earth as he is now just dinks and dunks left and right. He's not turning the ball over, but he's not. I mean, the Vikings were 1 for 13 on third down because they got complacent. They played down to the Cowboys level, didn't put the pedal to the metal, way too many punts, kept the Cowboys in that game. The Cowboys sent every Viking fan home sad on Halloween. I was going to go to that game. Then I heard, okay, Dak might not play. I figured I'm not, if the Falcons were playing, I would unload hundreds of dollars for tickets there. Great atmosphere, but I'm not going to see Cooper Rush play and then a Vikings loss. I don't know. Maybe I would have paid just to see what Ty Dawson's face was like at the end of that game, who did end up attending that. Cowboys have covered every single spread now. The only lone team in the NFL to do so. They are home -8.5 versus the Broncos. Who's going to start? I don't even think that's what I'm seeing, 8.5, but I think some books are kind of waiting to see what the word is with Dak, with Cooper Rush. Going to be interesting. I think what I wanted to do, and I ended up teasing it, so I lost on the total, but, the Cowboys were the play there. You let the line do its work regardless, right? When it's announced that Cooper Rush is starting, but maybe you do that here against the Broncos, 8.5. If it's Cooper Rush starting, maybe that goes all the way back down to 6, maybe 5, and then you play that and see the Cowboys can still keep their perfect record against the number. But we'll see throughout the course of the week. Next 4 Vikings games here. We've got the Dawson brothers questioning whether the Vikes are Super Bowl bound, or I think they were actually stating it as fact. Well, let's see how you do here over your next 4 after losing to Cooper Rush. You're at Baltimore. Good luck. At the LA Chargers, home versus Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and then you're at San Francisco. Yikes. World Series Game 6 tonight. I hedged out. I went back to the record, saw my bet 10-1 on the Atlanta Braves on December 7th, 2020 was the bet. I held out until Game 6, didn't hedge, but now the Astros are getting the best price I've seen all series long at +210. And book it with Trent, this guy who was just hilarious on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. He has picked every single game wrong and is on the Braves tonight. So I couldn't let this go to a Game 7. Everyone seems to be on the Astros tonight thinking this is going to Game 7. He's also gone no run first inning in every game, and he's gone 1-4 in that department. He's also going no run scored in the first inning tonight again, for what it's worth. I don't know. I still think it's a toss-up. Is this going to come down to game 7? Where has Alex Bregman been? He's just had 2 hits in the series. That certainly hurt the Astros, but what's hurt the Braves was Charlie Morton getting injured. They had to bring up that guy who barely pitched all year. In game 5, they lose. Atlanta sports curse is a real thing, regardless of sport. Still a toss-up. Astros have already rocked Max Fried, who's on the hill tonight. Garcia, the Braves have gotten to him too. He's on short rest. What's going to happen? Is it going to come down to Ian Anderson in game 7? Jose Urquidy for the Astros? It's been a hell of a playoffs and a hell of a World Series. So let's see. Game 6 is tonight. And let's wrap up with some college football here on Corbet's Corner. Been telling you for a couple weeks now. Cincinnati is toast. Another bad win. Remember the 2 weeks ago, they only beat Navy by 7. Now they only beat Tulane by 19. SMU just lost, so now they're no longer undefeated. So that game loses some shine on November 20th. Bama keeps destroying everyone. It's going to be the usual suspects. I hate to tell you. It's the college football. It's just how it's going to be. It's going to be Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. I think Bryce Young is going to win the Heisman, and I think Bama is going to win the national title. I just think that's how it's going to end up. Let's take a look at some games, though, in the college football playoff race. I think they're coming out with did they already do the rankings? They do the college football playoff rankings here shortly. But again, we kind of know what's going to shake out there. Games to watch this weekend. Mizzou, now the only team who has not covered in the nation this year. Clemson should have still joined them, but one of the worst beats ever as time expired. A defensive touchdown on a lateral play. Pushed the total over. It gave Clemson the cover. Just brutal for your boys specifically. But that means Mizzou is just the lone team left now, and they will head to Athens, Georgia to face the number 1 team in the country as 38-point dogs. That's a hammer. Georgia will destroy Mizzou. Ohio State at Nebraska, only 15 for CJ Stroud. Right now, that's my second guy for Heisman. It's Stroud and it's Bryce Young. I think if Alabama wins out, it's going to be Bryce Young. But we shall see. Ohio State and Stroud will be at Lincoln as 15-point favorites on the road. Wake Forest undefeated in the top 10 for the first time in program history, and Vegas has them losing at UNC this weekend. 2.5-point dogs on the road at Mac Brown's team in North Carolina. That will be an interesting game to keep an eye on. Cincinnati, let's see. Back-to-back non-covers against inferior opponents. Now they're 22.5-point favorites at home against Tulsa. Can you blow them out and keep pace in this conversation for the playoff? Michigan State, they beat Michigan, come from behind fashion. They're undefeated. It's going to come down to them and Ohio State, right? Maybe Michigan can spoil things. Who knows? Right now, Michigan State is only -3 at Purdue. Michigan State -3, looking to remain undefeated. Auburn at A&M in College Station, team that beat Bama against the team that will get a crack at Bama in the Iron Bowl, and Auburn's looked quietly pretty solid here. Auburn +4.5 at College Station and Texas A&M. The Iron Bowl will be the final week of the regular season. Bama is going to roll LSU -28.5 in Tuscaloosa. Ed Orgeron couldn't even practice because they're so banged up. He's leaving after the year. LSU's a mess. I love Bama to keep bolstering and making things interesting between them and Cincinnati. And it's the University of Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners. Tough test. See if they can remain undefeated. -11 at UTEP. The Miners, no slouch there. I believe they're 5-2 or something of the sort. All right, let's talk Boston College. 4-4 now. They started 4-0. Obviously, they were a game and a half into their season, and their star quarterback gets injured. So on comes the no star walk-on quarterback, Dennis Grosel. He's like a 5th-year senior. He's almost my age. He basically looks like me at intramural football out there, and we lose 4 straight. Well, we beat the second half of UMass, beat Temple, and we beat Mizzou, who hasn't covered a single game, as aforementioned. But now we lose 4 straight, and we look awful doing it. BC needs to go 2-2 to make a bowl. Got to make a bowl. Come on. Got to make a bowl. 4-0. Got to go undefeated, run the table to beat their season win total, which came in at 7.5. Again, that was with Djokovic and not Dennis Grosel, obviously. Let's see if we can still steal that win total, though. I couldn't watch the Syracuse game because it was blacked out. It was on Nesson. I think I have my parents' cable company, which is out east, and Nesson is a northeast company in Boston. So it was bogus. I had to follow on the game cast on ESPN, which was just brutal. But you know, it was better. I actually couldn't watch. It was a brutal game. It was brutal enough on the game cast. I can only imagine watching the actual game. Grosel and Emmett Moorhead was the guy. I was theorizing, is it Reavie? We hadn't seen Moorhead all year. He wasn't even on the depth chart. Boom. There's Moorhead. Stats wise, they were the same. He came in on the third drive. Hafley said that was the plan no matter what. And, you know, Grosel was terrible the first two drives. So obviously it was easier there. Moorhead is obviously a more polished quarterback, better deep ball, more of a pocket presence, where Dennis Grosel is kind of more of a gamer, makes plays when you need him to sometimes, makes mistakes as well. But regardless, the offensive line has been a disaster since the Clemson game because injuries have hurt. Like, this was a pro offensive line coming in, highly rated in the conference, in the nation, and it's just been a disaster because, again, injuries have hurt them. Jack Conley, New Canaan, Connecticut's own, he unfortunately has not been very good getting plugged in there. But Ozzie Trapilo, who is one of the highest recruits ever for BC, he's a freshman. He got some snaps in there, so he might see some more depending on the injuries, and it seemed to look good there in the final couple of series. You know, the freshmen are looking great. Clinton Burton Jr., another 4-star. We're not used to 4-stars on this team. He sees the field as a freshman because so many injuries, as well as Sebastian's hurt. He looks like he has great potential, and he's starting to accumulate. He might lose out his redshirt year, but that's fine. Let's see if he can play some good games here and get some experience in the ACC down the stretch. The future looks bright. You know, that's what I'm happy. That's what I'm trying to stay positive about, but I'm greedy. I want to go 4-0 to close out the year. And it starts with the red bandana game this Friday at home. Friday night under the lights, plus 3.5. Virginia Tech coming in. Oh, come on. What are we doing here? Crazier things have happened. Both Dennis Grosel and Emmett Moorhead listed on the depth chart for QB1. Obviously, just, that's obviously keeping the cards tight to the chest. Don't want to give Virginia Tech anything to game plan off of throughout the week. So it's a game time decision for the starter. I think it's going to be Moorhead regardless, who's going to get majority of the game. And I'll actually be able to kind of watch him and see some more of this freshman quarterback and see if he can save our season. That is on Friday night. The red bandana game is going to be special. It always is in Chestnut Hill. And a little primetime game Friday night for Boston College. Get right game, please get to the 5th win. Virginia Tech, they stink. They just beat Georgia Tech. Who's Georgia Tech? They stink too. The final 4 games: Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, FSU, Wake Forest. Can we do 4-0? Can we do it, please? That's Corbet's Corner. Winging it coming out this week. The McDonald's Challenge vlog will be released this week as well. We'll see if Brendan Duarte struggled through it. Did he complete it? Did he not? That'll come out on social media. Stick with us here on the podcast network, our social media channels, what have you. We'll talk to you tomorrow.